I have started Creative Studio, and again, as I've said many times when I do my videos, I don't have any particular place where I park the machine head. Wherever it's sitting, that I park it for the night, which is about 2 foot from the end of the left end of the table. And when I start it up, I just click OK. When it comes up with this screen, I'll click OK, and that's my point of origin, because I'm going to relocate anyway. Now I have a project going already, and I had to shut down, so I'm going to go to File, Open Project. It'll take it a little bit here because I have the recording program running, and then I'll take and put in the name of the person that I'm working on and bring up that project. And this is the one right here, Rayleigh, and it's Deb's Feathers. I put the date. That's how I do my projects, and then I can find them. I'll click Open. Now you can see how much of this I've already quilted, and then I had to go somewhere and take care of something else, so I'm back. So you say, well, how am I going to get this thing all set up where it knows where it is? I've rolled the quilt, and the last row that I quilted, which was this row, when it got down and tied off, the start and end is at the top of this pattern. I let it tie off, I cut the threads, I brought the machine back down to the end left side, and I clicked OK, and the machine went and it took a stitch right here at the start point of this next row to be quilted. I always do that way. It doesn't matter to me if the start and end is at the top, because I'm not going to use continue, and I'm not going to use end of set. I don't use those. For me, it's inconvenient. So now I'm going to move my machine and place the needle at that start point of this next row that I marked. And how I marked that was I let the machine take a stitch, and I pulled up the bobbin thread, and I secured the top of the thread, the bobbin thread, to a pin, a straight pin, and then I reached underneath and I cut the bobbin thread, leaving 3 or 4 inches of thread loose. That gives me a point that I can relocate this project. So now I have the needle sitting at the point where I want the stitching to start. Okay, I've zoomed back out, and you can see where the crosshair says the needle is. It's way over here, completely out of pocket with the project, because I need to relocate it so the needle is right here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in some. I don't need to, but I want you to be able to see. And I'll right click, and where I right click, the way I do this really doesn't matter. So I'll go to relocate, Shift Alt to one point. Now I'll turn on the end snap, and you can hear and you can see that the cursor that I've snapped to the start point of this first repeat of the next row to be quilted. Now left click the mouse, it'll come up with this message. Click yes, because I do want to continue and the head is at the correct place. So now I'll zoom back in, and you can see that the needle, according to the crosshair, is sitting at the start point of the first repeat in the next row. The only thing I need to do is take my machine down to the other end of the quilt and check and make sure that this edge is lined up where I want it to be. If it is not, I will adjust the pattern. Now, I found that I don't care what mode I'm using, whether I'm using the edge-to-edge mode, whether I'm using repeat patterns modes. Sometimes, for some reason that I don't have an explanation for, the pattern shifts some. And at times it shifts because my quilt top is not exactly the same width all the way from one end to the other. So I'm just going to adjust this, and I want it to be close to that crosshair mark, but I don't want it to be all the way out to the edge. That's just the way I quilt it. I am satisfied with this, that this is adjusted. All I have to do now is go and let the machine start at the beginning of the row. Now I may select this row, all of it, all the repeats in this row, and I zoom in, and I may adjust this where it's a little bit closer to this edge. I don't want it too close, but I don't want it too far away. That's about the way I want it right there, and I'm satisfied with that. Now I'm going to let the machine go to the start of the first repeat in this next row and start stitching. So I'm going to go get the machine and bring it down to the left side of the quilt. I'm going to use the upper right button. I'm going to click 3 times. That puts me on the quilt icon. I'll click the lower right button, telling it I'm going to accept that, and the machine is going to go to the point that I want it to start stitching. It's going to take a stitch, and then when I click the lower right again, the OK button, it's going to do a tie off, and it's going to start stitching this row. I've run out of bobbin thread, and I've replaced the bobbin with a new full bobbin. Now I'm going to do a restart, and I can just click on restart, and the machine is going to move to where it thinks the restart point is. But I'm going to pick a new point. Then I'm going to move the machine to the point where I took the stitches back and tied the stitches and pulled them in. I moved it there. I'm going to click use this point. Then I'm going to click quilt, and Creative Studio is going to take a stitch. It'll tie off and continue on. So when I run out of bobbin thread, it's no problem. I just do a restart after I get a new bobbin in. I show Creative Studio where I want it to start, and it starts stitching and continues on.